Good morning. Thank you all for being here. Today, House Democrats recommit to the fight for Americans' basic right to make their own health care decisions. Democrats stand with Americans from every walk of life in this fight for reproductive freedom, not just in blue states, but in every state and every zip code. We're fighting for women like Chelsea Stovall. Chelsea's from Fayetteville, Arkansas. She grew up in a big, conservative, evangelical family, and she knew she always wanted a big family of her own. She and her husband were thrilled when they discovered she was pregnant with their third child, a baby girl, until they went for a checkup. And Chelsea's doctor told her her pregnancy was not viable and posed a risk to her life. Because of the Dobbs decision, Chelsea's doctor had to deny her the health care she needed to save her life and be there for her family. That meant a 6-hour drive to Illinois. It meant finding a hotel, finding childcare. It meant spending all their savings. Here's what Chelsea said after this horrendous ordeal. I wanted 3 kids, but after going through everything I went through and the laws the way they are, I don't want to get pregnant again. Once I get pregnant, my life stops mattering. That's the reality under this administration. That's the reality under this deadly maternal health crisis. That's the reality under this regime that endows politicians with more rights than patients or doctors. To these extremists, the lives of pregnant women do not matter. And Democrats are fighting back against this ideology. We are fighting to uphold the basic rights of the American people. And we will continue fighting for freedom and for a future worthy of our daughters. And I am so grateful to be in this fight with my incredible colleagues and to be here with our leader, Hakeem Jeffries, who is very clear and committed to making sure that reproductive freedom is once again the law of the land. Hakeem Jeffries.
Well, good morning. Let me thank Katherine Clark for her incredible leadership in this space. And on behalf of women and families and everyday Americans all across the country, I'm so thankful for the extraordinary leaders who are here today, leaders within the House Democratic Caucus, and leaders on reproductive freedom across the United States of America. The Dobbs decision was unjust, unacceptable, and un-American, and has endangered the health, safety, and well-being of millions of women across the United States of America, disproportionately impacting black women across this country. As Democrats, we believe in a woman's freedom to make her own reproductive health care decisions. It's a decision that should be between a woman, her family, and her doctor, not right-wing officials trying to jam their extreme ideology down the throats of women throughout the United States of America and their families. And as House Democrats, we will continue to push with the fierce urgency of now to protect the reproductive freedom of women, to stand up and forcefully advocate for the Women's Health Protection Act and all other enlightened pieces of legislation designed to ensure that we are protecting the health and well-being of the women throughout the United States of America. This fight isn't over it's just getting started. Republicans have decided that since they cannot get things done legislatively that undermine the will of the American people, they've been legislating from the bench with their extreme right-wing justices. And we're committed to reversing the Dobbs decision, the first opportunity that we get upon taking back control of the House and of the Senate. We know we stand on the right side of this issue. We know the American people believe in a woman's freedom to make her own reproductive health care decisions. We know the American people are opposed to government-mandated pregnancies and this command and control effort by extreme right-wing forces to decide the fate of women and families in America, and we're committed to doing everything to push back against it. It's now my honor to yield to the chair of the House Democratic Caucus and another champion in this fight, Chairman Pete Aguilar.
Thank you, Mr. Leader. I want to start by thanking co-chairs DeGette and Pressley and the entire Reproductive Freedom Caucus, as well as the Democratic Women's Caucus, for their leadership on women's reproductive rights and keeping this issue front and center, especially as Republicans desperately try to change the conversation. 4 years ago, conservatives on the Supreme Court did something unthinkable. They actually took away a constitutional right from half of the American population. Just think about that. Women in 2021 had more rights than women today in 2026. But of course, that tells you everything you need to know about the Trump Republican agenda. They seem to take us backwards at every turn, and when they succeed, they turn their backs on people with the policies that they advocate. In the years since the Dobbs decision, women across the country have been put in a truly impossible situation when making healthcare decisions. This is unacceptable. Republicans know the dangers of this decision, yet they continue to double down on their extremist agenda that seeks to criminalize patients, threaten doctors with jail time, further restrict legal medication abortion, and close healthcare clinics. These Republican members of Congress believe they know better than women and doctors. This isn't just shameful, it's un-American. As we approach America's 250th anniversary, we should embrace the ideals that our nation was founded on, especially freedom, and at the same time work to move our country forward, not backwards. The American story has always been about expanding opportunities, rights, and freedoms, not limiting them. As the party of progress, Democrats are in this fight for all Americans, for all American women, regardless of race, party, religion, or zip code. We won't stop until reproductive freedom is the law of the land for all women. And one of our champions in this fight is a leader in Congress who continues to advocate for women's reproductive freedom and the importance of that in her health committee that she will chair when we are in the majority, Ayanna DeGette. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. Today it's 4 years after the Dobbs decision. Abortion is banned or severely restricted in 20 states, leaving millions of Americans without the freedom to make their own health care decisions. Today, in the United States, 44% of women of reproductive age live in states where there are abortion bans. Across the country, extremist state laws are threatening patients, providers, and even those who help people access abortion care with criminal penalties and jail time. Some states have proposals to treat abortion patients as murderers, even suggesting that they would be eligible for the death penalty. I've got to say, like my wonderful leadership has said, this is simply un-American. And as we move towards our 250th anniversary, our goal should be restoring rights and not taking them away and not making half of the population of this country victims. It is the sole mission of the Reproductive Freedom Caucus to ensure that every American has the health care they need, including abortion access. And we are and will fight tirelessly to make sure that this happens. As my colleague said, our Republican colleagues are all in on these horrible, horrible policies. But they don't want to talk about it too much because they know Americans disagree with them to a large degree. Our colleagues have repeatedly used annual spending bills to advance anti-abortion policies that restrict care, undermine providers, and threaten reproductive freedom overall. Now, last summer, you might remember H.R. 1, the big bad bill, I call it. It defunded Planned Parenthood and weakened Medicaid. It jeopardized access to cancer screenings, birth control, and maternal health care. This is simply wrong. And so I was delighted when I talked to leader, soon-to-be Speaker Jeffries a few weeks ago, and I said one of the first priorities in the next Congress needs to be to restore abortion rights to all Americans so that they have the same rights that the women in my own state of Colorado have. And you just heard him here today. I'm holding you to it. We will advocate that one of the first bills we pass will be a bill to restore our rights. It's only the just thing to do. And so I call upon everybody to fight with us towards this fight, to think about this, and to make sure that everybody gets the health care they need. I'm now delighted to introduce my co-warrior in this effort, a fierce fighter, Representative Ayanna Pressley, my co-chair.
I will not be brief, but I will be blunt, because the harm that is happening in this country is very blunt. And when I consider the fact that I've been in Congress for 8 years and was elected in the 116th Congress to, at that time, what was characterized as the first pro-choice majority Congress in the history of Congress. And we worked hard to make that more than a talking point. And it's my great honor to co-chair this Reproductive Freedom Caucus alongside Diana DeGette. And I'll underscore that because everything that's happening right now was outlined in Project 2025. And this authoritarian regime that means to march us towards a nation of forced birth. This is an anti-freedom agenda. When they attack the free press, they degrade free speech. They want to control the books we read, and they want to control what we do with our very bodies. It is an anti-freedom agenda. And this is a somber moment. Today, I come before you with a heavy heart because I fear that America has normalized women bleeding out in parking lots, denied basic health care. Today, I come before you with a heavy heart because I fear that in America, the suffering of women has become background noise. Tell me how this is possible when the preventable death of a loved one is a kind of heartbreak that defies words, a permanent heartbreak that crushes dreams and is felt across generations. In our home, I have an ancestor wall, and on that wall is my paternal grandmother, a woman I never had the privilege of meeting and knowing. My grandmother, Carrie, my father's mother, died in childbirth in the 1950s. It impacted the trajectory of my father's entire life and that of his 5 siblings. And yet still, in America today, the statistical odds of a black woman's safe passage through childbirth remain much the same as the days of my grandma, Carrie. And the White House refuses to name the black maternal health crisis because, in fact, they don't even want to name, they want to erase the word black in their attack on DEI. They want to erase the word and they want to erase black people. But you can't. I'll go on. Today in South Texas, a warehouse of pregnant children are being held. Children, we don't even know how they got pregnant. Today in South Texas, a warehouse of pregnant children are being held, imprisoned by this administration. One more demonstration of their child abuse, child negligence, and a generation of childhood trauma that they seek to advance and exact every day. These children are being denied abortion care and prenatal care alike, terrified. 13 and 14-year-old girls, their bodies claimed by the state as property. Today, across America, in this country, women are forced by the government to carry dead fetuses inside their body until their health begins to fail because callous Republicans choke on scripture while they pass legislation that is both sloppy and fatal and nothing Christian about it, denying women the right to essential abortion care. Let me be clear, abortion care is essential health care. I come before you today to offer a stark and damning picture, not to dissuade us from the work ahead, but to call us to action. I speak with precision and bluntness because that is the only way forward. We have to stand in the gap and work with partners at every level of government to protect and expand access to care. We must stand unified behind robust democratic legislation that will not only codify the right to abortion care, but expand access to abortion care, protect access to birth control and IVF, save the lives of black birthing mamas, and more. We must center and trust the women who have led local mutual aid efforts since the beginning of time, working with limited resources and at deep personal sacrifices to get their neighbors, aunties, and daughters the care they need. We've always done it. Imagine an America where we speak plainly about pregnancy outcomes. Imagine an America where every person can get the essential abortion care they need. Imagine an America where birthing mothers are loved, supported, and celebrated. Imagine an America where every child has a childhood. Imagine an America where no family struggles to afford formula or diapers. Imagine an America where everyone is truly free. But we have to do more than imagine it. We have to work to make it so. My colleagues and I will continue to agitate, litigate, legislate, organize, and mobilize. Today, I'm thinking of every family that has shared their abortion story with me. I'm thinking about my mother. I'm thinking about my grandmother, who I never met. I'm thinking about our 17-year-old daughter, Cora, and the aspirations that we have for her to live a life defined by freedom and liberation. The struggle for abortion justice is fundamental, and I promise you that every single day, continue to fight. Democrats will continue to fight until every person who calls this country home has access to the care that they demand and deserve. And now I'll bring our vice chair of the Reproductive Freedom Caucus, who has been on the front lines in the state of Texas, Congresswoman Lizzie Fletcher.
Well, thank you so much, Co-Chair Pressley, for those incredibly powerful words and vision of an America that can be, and that everyone standing here today is committed to making happen. All those who are gathered and all those who are here in spirit. As a woman from Texas and as the vice chair of the Reproductive Freedom Caucus, I am grateful for the tireless efforts of this coalition of leaders from the Congress, from the community, to protect the health, dignity, equality, and freedom of women in Texas and all across this country. My fellow Texans are suffering today, as are women across this country from the cruelty and the chaos that the United States Supreme Court unleashed 4 years ago today when it overturned the case of Roe v. Wade. Women in Texas are suffering under cruel laws that came into effect the minute that that decision was handed down. Women in Texas aren't just suffering from bad laws. We've got plenty of those. Women in Texas are dying. Women in Texas are dying because people in our legislature passed laws that said that they are not equal citizens and they are not deserving of equal care. And their doctors cannot give them the care they need. Because the laws also say that those doctors won't just lose their medical licenses. Those doctors will go to jail for giving them the reproductive health care that they need. This is exactly where we were more than 50 years ago when a small group of young women in Texas challenged the laws that were on the books in Texas then. They fought those laws and they took that case all the way to the Supreme Court. And they won. And that was the case of Roe versus Wade. That was the case that established that Americans have the right to make their own decisions about their own bodies, their own families, and their own futures. And I'm proud that it was Texas women who took that case to court. And I am proud of the Texas women who are continuing the fight today with our sisters across the country who are sharing their stories, who are telling people what it means when you cannot go to the hospital when you're having a miscarriage, when they tell you to sit outside in the parking lot and wait until you get sicker, until you're showing signs of sepsis, sepsis which kills you, until you can come back in and maybe then you can get treatment after a committee makes a decision. That is shameful. That is shameful. It's not right, and we're not going to let it happen without a fight. We will not stop. Today, House Democrats are united in making sure, working together with our partners, to the leaders in this fight, and to the people who have been impacted, who have lost their wives, their daughters, their mothers, their aunties, their friends, all across this country. We are here to fight, and we will win because we have no other choice. The lives of American women depend on us. And it is with that in mind that it is my incredible honor and privilege to introduce Shanette Williams to share her story with us this morning.
I often have to take a deep breath, realizing that this is really not a dream. I start out by saying good morning to you all. And thank you to Leader Hakeem Jeffries, the House Democrat Caucus, and the Reproductive Freedom Caucus for inviting me here today to share my daughter Amber's story. Did I ever want that to be the case? Absolutely not. I stand as a woman of faith, great faith. And not only do I represent my daughter, but so many other women. My dear family that I've gained, Candy Miller's family, who sits on the front row, her son, my grandson, my entire family. 4 years ago, the Supreme Court's deadly Dobbs decision overturned Roe v. Wade and robbed millions of women of the freedom to make their own decisions about their families, futures, and their lives. That devastating ruling essentially told every woman and patients across the country that you don't deserve to have freedom over your own bodies. Even it means if it could save your life, it does not matter. My daughter Amber was one of the countless women who have been a victim of the abortion bans that have come into place since Dobbs' decision. Absolutely nothing prepares you for losing someone you love so deeply, especially your own flesh and blood. I want you to think about that. You carry this child. They grow inside of you. You get to know them. And you're eager to find out who they're going to become. You get the pleasure of navigating them through life. And something so despicable happens. Think about it. If you're a mother, if you're a father, think about it. And then breathe. She was the light of my life. She challenged me, and she encouraged me. She pushed me to go beyond the limits. And because of that, today, I'm almost finished with my PhD. I think about her every single day. My daughter lost her life in 2022, shortly after the Dobbs ruling. And I have to take my time, y'all, so forgive me. After taking the abortion medication, she experienced complications. They were treatable and rare. She went to the hospital, just as we normally would. And all she needed was a simple procedure, a DNC. We all know what that is. Yeah. Instead, she was forced to wait 20 hours for emergency care. Wait, emergency care, 20 hours. Make it make sense. My daughter deserved to live a long and happy life. However, that opportunity was taken away from her. Doctors did not give me the opportunity to make a decision about my daughter's life and treated her as if she were a statistic. It was later that my family and I would find out Georgia's abortion ban prevented doctors from providing the care that Amber needed to survive. I wholeheartedly repeat, the doctors and the state of Georgia failed my baby. And they failed so many others and are failing so many others. Amber's story is not, unfortunately, an isolated one. Women across the country are dying because politicians think they know better than our doctors and medical professionals. Doctors, medical professionals, and politicians. There is no comparison. They are trying to ban abortions nationwide, despite the fact that most people in this country support access to abortion care and what autonomy over their bodies. We want autonomy over our own bodies. But what do we hear? We're going to take care of women whether they like it or not. And what do we see happening? I want you to look at this. Just take a look. It could be you. But instead, it had to be me and the women and the families that are experiencing this. When abortion is left up to the states, people die. Families lose mothers, partners, and loved ones, just like my family lost Amber, and most of all, her son, my grandson, lost his mother. It's one thing for me to hurt, for me to be in pain. But when it's a child who is innocent in the matter, do we even think about that? Doctors who are supposed to care for our loved ones are forced to watch their patients suffer while attorneys decide whether care is legal. Instead of protecting access to life-saving medical care, anti-abortion extremists are working to roll back the rights of women and patients even further. Right now, we need action. Words are good, but we need more than words. We need lawmakers to stand up for reproductive freedom, because no one else should die because of political games. The American people are watching. We want to know that the people serving in this building will make sure we make it home alive at the end of the day. And when I go to the cemetery, I have to stand there and first get a grip that this is my life. This is my new normal. But every time I look at the pictures, I say, though it may tarry, I won't stop. Though it may take a while, I won't quit. And though the doors may be slammed in my face, I will keep going, because we're going to get change no matter what. And I thank you for this time. But now it's a call to action. You don't see a mother. Yes, I grieve every day. But my stance now is, I don't care what doors we have to kick down and the bullies that I have to stand up against, because the worst thing that could have ever happened to a mother in life, it has already happened to me. So bring the bullies to me, because I am ready for them. And I would like to introduce to you now Representative Kagler. Okay, help me out. Kamlager Dove. Sorry about that. I don't want to murder your name.
I want to thank everyone who has spoken. I want to thank Leader Jeffries and Chair Aguilar, especially because you don't see many men sharing stories and speaking up on this issue. I want to thank the chairs of the Reproductive Freedom Caucus for sharing their stories and keeping this front of center. And I want to deeply thank Ms. Shanette Williams for continuing to share her story about Amber. This is why we're here. I am Sydney Kamlager Dove. I represent the 37th Congressional District in California. I am also the proud co-chair of Planned Parenthood Los Angeles. And my commitment to reproductive justice began long before the Supreme Court overturned Dobbs and dragged women back 50 years. When I was younger, I recall crying tears of joy looking at an ultrasound because I was pregnant. I also remember crying tears of pain when I went back to the doctor and the doctor said there was no more heartbeat. But I was fortunate enough to live in California, a state that values me, my body, and my choice to give me the reproductive care that I and every woman deserves. We have heard all of the stories. Ms. Shanette just shared a powerful one of women waiting hours and hours, traveling, bleeding out. Horror stories. You wouldn't want to read about them. You wouldn't want to see them in the movies, but they are happening to our friends, our family members, our loved ones. In California, the fight for reproductive freedom looks different because we are fortunate, thank God, that the fundamental right to abortion is protected in our state constitution. But not every state is as courageous or as honest as California. Reproductive health care is health care, and women deserve it. I have watched as women have just tried to pull all of their pennies together, sometimes to drive, sometimes to get on a Greyhound bus to come to a safe state to get an abortion. And you know that travel time is precious time. And every hour, every day that they are not in front of a doctor is really perilous for their life and for the life of the fetus baby that is inside of them. I'm going to share with you about Kay. Kay, a patient from Texas, living without her family. Her family was living in another country. She had just broken up with her partner when she realized that she was both pregnant and had cancer. But in order to get the chemo that she needed to save her life, she had to have an abortion. And she couldn't do it in Texas. So she had to make the impossible, well, she was in an impossible position, and she had to make an untenable decision to make her way to California to receive the abortion that she needed in order to save her life so she could continue on her healthcare journey and try to have a child. And before Kay got on the plane, she turned to the Planned Parenthood staff and thanked them. Because of the care you have given me, I now have hope that I can live and can continue to try to have a child. Thankfully, Kay got the care that she needed. But we are here. Miss Shanette is here. You all are here because we have to change that story from being normalized. Women should have access to the care they need in their own state so they are not struggling to get someplace else that sees them as a whole person. We have expanded our capacity in California, but we can't do it alone. We need a federal government that is willing to step up and stand up and dignify women. Women are sharing the stories of their reproductive health journey. We need the men to also do the same. This is not just about women. This is not just about men. This is not just about pregnant